Hi, everybody. My name is Nanika Edwards. I'm a poet, author, artist, a lot of different things, to be honest. And sometimes I don't like listing them all because they get people angry. But to be honest, I don't think it's fair to me not to be able to list everything just because other people may be insecure. I'm not going out of my way to make people feel bad. These are just the things that I've taken the time to develop, to water, to nourish, to water, to nurture, to master. They didn't just fall out of the sky. I had to work at them, and I've worked very hard and very diligently. So I don't think I should be denied the joy of saying who I am. So if you feel a bit insecure, or if you feel a kind of way when I say all the things that I am or that I've done, what can I say? You kind of need to consider where that's coming from. Is it something I'm imposing on you, or is it something you're imposing on yourself from within yourself? That's kind of the conversation, the inner monologue or the inner dialogue that you have with yourself. Anyway, in this series of videos, I am sharing some rules that I've bent, just to let people know how I think, because I am a creative, and typically creative people tend to be rule breakers on so many different levels. On so many different levels, we're the rebels. On so many levels, we're the rebels, right? We're the ones who question. We're the ones who won't stay quiet. We're the ones who have so much to say and we can't keep it to ourselves, right? We are those kinds of people. But anyway, I thought I would just share some of the things that make me who I am, because over the years, especially over like the past, I would say maybe, I don't know, 5, 8, 10 years or so, I have seen like a growing curiosity among the people around me, like people in my neighborhood, people in my family, just random people I meet here and there. I've had people say, "My God, how does your mind work?" But sometimes when people ask me that, I can feel their pain. Like, it's not coming from a place of, I'm really curious. How does your mind work? It's more like, my gosh, you're making me feel so horrible about myself. It's almost literally physically painful. Like, I had one woman, she literally held her head and said, "My God, how does your mind work?" And it's kind of makes me kind of sad, like the way a child will feel sad if you have a lot of kids in the playground and that kid is in the sandbox and all the other kids are just looking at that kid making these rather unusual but interesting, um, unusually imaginative shapes and sculptures in the sand, like these sand sculptures, and they can't understand how that kid is doing it, so they stay away. They stay away because a lot of people cannot handle people who are different, things that are different, things that make people have to look a little closer, think a little harder, think a little deeper. A lot of people just shy away from the work that would mean, because most people shy away from work. Thinking takes up a lot of a lot of our energy. A lot of our physical energy is diverted towards thinking for good reason, because how we think will determine our destiny ultimately. How we think will determine, you know, what we say, what we do, the character we develop, and the habits we develop, the character we develop, and ultimately our destiny. So thinking is so important, and that's why God has so designed us that our brain uses up most of our uses up a whole lot of our energy. I think it's maybe most of the energy in our body. I want to believe. I'm not too sure. Maybe a medical practitioner could verify that, but I think our brain uses up as much as 20% of the energy that our body produces to think. you know so most people don't like to think, but anyway, yes, I'm a lot like that kid on the sandbox. So I wanted to explain to people, demystify to some extent how my mind works, although I myself don't always understand how my mind works, because it's a really interesting interweaving of my personality, my unique intellectual design, with the beauty, the true genius of the Holy Spirit, of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I mean, that's really what's going on. So it's really hard to defined sometimes. Even for me, things happen in my mind, and even I be questioning, to be honest. I have not completely demystified myself to myself, but I'll see what I can do for my followers and people who do feel curious. And maybe some of these things may be useful for you. That's the other thing. It's not just about me. I hope that these videos would also maybe give you something to think about that maybe you could apply to your own life. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a rule that I have bent, a rule that I have broken. And this is one of the rules that a lot of women would be familiar with. And that is the I'm single and I'm ready to mingle. Right? That rule is a very it's kind of addictive. No, that's the wrong word. It's biologically programmed into women, but it can also be so painful for a lot of women. So many women, we want to be hitched. We want to be married. We want to share our life with somebody. And to be honest, I think that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing because God is like that. God is so loving that he wants people to love. He's looking for people to lavish his love upon, right? That's how God is. I think though maybe in sometimes in the case of a lot of women, it's not so much about lavishing love. Sometimes it's about being loved. Sometimes it's about looking for someone to heal our pain, looking for someone to be our joy, looking for someone to be that fix, looking for someone to be our hit, you know, to be our supply, to be our drug supply, to be our, you know, the person who makes it all better if we can't make it better for ourselves. So anyway, in this video, I'm dealing with a rule that I personally have broken, and that is I'm happily single. And I always have been, to be honest. Most times I would say 99.9% of the time I'm just happily single. You know, easily I could spend the rest of my life being single and, not have a care in the world, to be honest. But why is that? That's because one, because I do have particular, let's call them mental challenges or aberrations. Early o'clock, I told myself, you know what, personally, I prefer not to have kids. There was a time when I did love the idea of getting married, having kids, and all of that. But no, I don't know. It's not such a glowing aspiration for me. It's not a rose tinted dream for me. It really isn't. In my case, it's partially because I just have challenges that I would not want to genetically impose on a life that I would bring into this world. So that's just a choice that I made, right? But apart from that, to be honest, I really enjoy my own company. And the reason why I enjoy my own company is because I like myself. I think the reason why I like myself is because I know who I am. The reason why I know who I am is because, as I mentioned in another video, I have not given myself over to peer pressure at any point. So it's not like I've been conformed to. It's not like I acted like a contortionist and disfigured my identity to fit some mold that some other human being, some other random human being was imposing. It's not like that. So I like myself, and I also like myself not just because I know myself, but because I try to treat people well. I try to generally leave people with their dignity intact. I can be on the very frank and direct side. So I know there have been times in my life where I've probably crushed some toes, not out of malice, but because I just believe in calling a spade a spade. But if you're out there and you're listening to this and I inexcusably crushed your toes, I do apologize. I really do apologize for that. But honestly, I do like myself, and therefore I like my company. I can be by myself and totally enjoy my company. Like, I laugh at my own jokes. I know that sounds kind of cray, but I tell jokes to myself that I find hilarious. And to be honest, I never feel alone because I walk with God. God is always with me. I never ever feel like I'm alone. Like, all throughout the day, I'm talking to God. The Bible says pray without ceasing. I think the reason why that's possible is because if you have a friendship with God, if we have a friendship with God that we water daily, then God is always with us. It's like he's like the house guest who never leaves. He's like the house guest that you cannot kick out of your house, and you don't even want to kick them out of your house. They're such perfect and pleasant. They're such pleasant and perfect company. God is like that. So I enjoy my own company. I love God's company, and I really find perfect contentment in my walk with him. Life has just been such a wonderful adventure. I am just so enjoy the things I do every day, the beautiful work that he puts in my heart and in my hands to do, that I don't have time to I don't know. I don't know. That's the wrong thing to say. It's not about time. It's like I have no urge to be looking to fill some void within me. God fills the void. And, like I said, I like my own company, and I love God, and God's so cool. He tells jokes. He pours songs into my soul. He even, it's interesting. God sometimes reminds me when I put things on the stove and I forget about them. I feel this gentle nudge or reminder in my thoughts or in my spirit. Hey, remember, you put something on the stove. If you don't go check it, it might burn. Little things like that. God is with me, even in real tangible, practical, immediate ways like that. So yeah, I'm happy, and I'm single. I'm happily single. Not that I have anything against being married. I don't mind being married. I think that would just be human existence on a different level or a different dimension of walking through this life. But I'm happily single. And by the way, one thing I would say though, something I feel I should address is, you see these people, men or women, who, if you're single through your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, they automatically assume that you have some kind of sexual identity crisis. I really would like to address that. Just because a man or a woman is single, even by choice, does not mean that something is fundamentally wrong with them in any way, or that they are on the other side sexually, that they are into the alternative lifestyle scene. It doesn't mean that. Certainly not in my case, right? And that's a kind of foolish way of thinking. That's just bad logic. That's just really bad logic. In the church, for example, if we just take the church as a subset of all of this, of society, guess what? There are more women in church than men. There are more women than men. And also, here's a smaller subset in the church. There's only a small subset of the church that is serious about God, that's seriously walking with God, that actually has a relationship with God. So you have fewer women, and of the men who are in the church, only a few of them probably really have a beautiful biblical grade relationship with God. So, all of that narrows your choices, because as a woman of God, you're not looking for a man who does not know or love God to to couple yourself with, right? So, when a woman is single, and even happily single, why would you automatically assume that something is wrong with them, that they are on the other side? What, you're looking for gossip fodder? Is that what you want? You want gossip fodder? You want something to talk about with your girlfriends? I mean, why would you assume that? I've had a lot of people assume that about me. It's very annoying, and I felt that I would address it here. You know. But anyway, I mean, there's so many things that I could say on this topic, but I am happily single. I don't mind getting married. If it's in God's cards for me, I have no problem with that. And yeah, that's it. I'm happily single. What about you? As a man or woman, are you happily single? And by the way, you see this battle of the sexes, all these videos about women are to this and men are to that, and, black men are done with black women and all of this stuff. It's so foolish. It's so foolish. And should black men date white women? And okay, that's going to be a topic for another day. But, you know, as we say in Trinidad, what is for you is for you. And I think we could also say, who is for you, right? Everybody, as we say in Trinidad, every What is it? What every bread have it cheese. Every bread have it have its every bread have a cheese, right? Every bread have a cheese. That cheese might be mozzarella, it might be cheddar, it might be brie, it might be blue cheese, it might be processed cheese. Every bread have a cheese, right? So if God has a cheese for you, I hope you find him or her. If not, if not, enjoy your bread with something else. It don't have to be cheese. It could be you can enjoy the bread with you can enjoy the bread with chicken. You can enjoy the bread with egg paste. You can enjoy the bread with tuna. You can enjoy the bread with salmon. You can enjoy the bread with something else. You can enjoy the bread with garlic butter. I mean, you can enjoy your bread with something else. It don't have to be cheese. It don't have to be cheese. In fact, God could be your cheese. God could be your cheese. You know, we had a game in primary school where, what was it? The farmer in the dell. The farmer in the dell. Hi ho, Mario, the farmer in the dell. I think I'm getting the words wrong, but you know, at the end of that, you have one person, I think, standing up in the middle going, and the cheese stands alone. And the cheese stands alone. Guess what? God is like cheese. He's the best cheese. And he doesn't want to stand alone. He looking for bread that he could vibes with, and it could be you, right? It could be you. So every bread have a cheese. Make sure that God is your favorite kind of cheese. So that's it. You do that, and you will be perfectly contented. So that's it. That's it for this video, ladies especially. I hope that you can find contentment even in singlehood, because if you can't, you're not ready for marriage. Honestly, if you're not contented in being single, it's very likely, unless God is putting that a holy discontentment, a righteous discontentment in your heart, but outside of that, you may not be ready for marriage, you know. So those would be my thoughts on this. Feel free to share your comments. I would love to hear. Yeah, let's have some candid conversations. Well, that's it. Until next time, feel free to like, share, and so on. There may be some gal in your circle who needs to hear this, or some guy in your circle who needs to have this. Somebody who trying to recover from a tabanca, from some kind of love sickness. You know, maybe he needs to hear this. He needs to hear that there are other fish in the sea, or maybe that he could live without fish. He could eat something else. He could eat pork. Well, okay, some people wouldn't say pork. He could eat beef. He could eat chicken. He could eat shrimp. He could eat fish. He could eat guti. He could eat guana, right? He could eat something else. It don't have to be fish, right? So that's it. Until the next time.